Coming up, more than 90 tech leaders from around the state have joined forces to launch the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. We'll tell you about goals and priorities for the legislature. Plus, a new cloud-based software startup not only wants to improve workforce safety, but also increase companies' productivity while also reducing costs. Anvil co-founder and tech veteran Robin Fleming is here to talk about her latest venture. And Batesville Tool and Die has grown to nearly 1,000 employees in its 40 years of business. We'll talk with the manufacturer's CEO about its long success and how it's dealing with workforce development challenges. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business.
Stand by for top of show with music full. Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve, cue Gary.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. From startups to Salesforce, Hoosier tech and innovation leaders have joined forces throughout the state to advocate for public policy at the State House. More than 90 companies are behind the new Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. Organizers say after working with policymakers on issues like the Next Level Fund and SaaS taxation issues over the last few years, it really became clear the industry needed to have a consistent presence at the State House to navigate new and complex issues. And for more on the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association, pleased to welcome the chairman of the board, David Becker. And David, as always, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gary. Nice to be here.
Okay, I think this is a significant announcement. I think a few years from now, we may look back on this as one of the big developments in technology. Why do this?
The play, as you said in the intro, having a consistent voice at the State House is necessary. We're the largest industry and one of the fastest growing in the state of Indiana that does not have that. There's hundreds of other manufacturers, employment groups that have their own representation at the State House. Obviously, we show up when there's a big issue, as you noted with the SaaS tax and the Next Level Fund, but you need to be there on a consistent basis. So when problems arise, or as you know, in our industry, the only constant we have is change. So we need to keep people informed of what's going on.
Yeah, you've just formed, so this session of the General Assembly will probably be a meet and greet, get to know type deal. But as you look in the coming months, what are some of the issues that you see this association really zeroing in on?
Well, I think that, you know, we have the ongoing concern of not enough tech talent here in Indianapolis. We've got to continue to help. TechPoint's doing a lot on the infrastructure build up and getting people here in the state of Indiana. Capital is always a major concern, and just a sense of place in the community here. So big, 30,000 foot issues at the current time, but they're going to become more and more important. Obviously, with the Amazon move, there were a few boxes we couldn't check. And if we want to continue to grow and have those type of opportunities, there's things that need to get done here in the city.
This association about 18 months or so in the making, but amazing to me how many companies are on board. You said you had hoped to get maybe 20, and you've got almost 100 from around the state.
Yeah, we just started kind of pitching the idea and letting people know of our existence a little over probably in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, and we were hoping to come to this announcement and the release of the formal press release with 25 companies, and I'm hoping by the end of the day when we actually meet with the legislature after their work day today, we'll be over 100.
Important, I think, to know, too, that there's representation from around the state of Indiana. A lot of tech activity and momentum here in central Indiana, but we're also seeing some in other parts of the state. How important to you is it to have that statewide
It's
presence?
Tremendously important, and it's very important at the legislative level, too. They hear a lot of things about Indianapolis, but when a legislator in Lagodi, Indiana gets a call from a local firm and saying, hey, this is important to me, that grassroots campaign is invaluable in working at the State House.
Has been a lot, as I said, a lot of tech momentum, certainly in Indiana over the last number of months. In your view, has this public policy type organization been somewhat of a missing link?
It is. I mean, we haven't had a lot of problems, so this is the great time to come in when things are going smooth, the economy's strong in the state of Indiana, to really get to know folks and bring them up to speed on our industry. It's the nature of the tech world to keep your head down and just build your business,
right.
But there are times we need to be visible and be out in the community.
As we wrap up, your take, Dave, on the tech community, the tech vibe in Indiana right now. You're a serial entrepreneur, started and grown a number of companies, most recently First Internet Bank, which is doing some great things right now. But as you look at the tech economy in Indiana, how would you rate it?
I think it's off the charts right now. We've got great things going on from one end of the state to the other. There's infrastructure we didn't have 30, 40 years ago when I started up, and it's a great time to be a tech company in the state of Indiana. It's a good location. We have obviously very reasonable housing, great talent sources with the universities. It's all coming together.
Well, big news breaking late in the week. The Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. David Becker, the new board chair of that group. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, still ahead, Batesville Tool & Die is marking 40 years in business. The company started with just 6 people, now has nearly 1,000 employees globally. We'll talk with CEO Jody Flederman about longevity and also workforce challenges. But first, Anvil is the first company launched from Indianapolis-based High Alpha since the venture studio received a $100 million infusion this summer, the 10th overall. Tech scene veteran Robin Fleming is here to talk about goals for the new cloud-based software company. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by DMI, mobilizing enterprises for the connected world. Well, venture studio High Alpha recently spun out its 10th startup. Anvil is a cloud-based software company that delivers workforce safety solutions. Hoosier tech scene veteran Robin Fleming co-founded the company and joined High Alpha as an entrepreneur in residence, and she joins me now in studio with more. And Robin, as always, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about Anvil. This is a milestone for High Alpha too, the 10th company to be spun out of that venture studio. But give me the idea behind and how the idea came about for Anvil.
Sure. So Anvil is a workforce first safety solution, technology that we are building to put in the hands of a worker that's in a hazardous condition. And the genesis of the idea actually came from Cummins. Cummins is, a global power leader, Fortune 500 company with actually an impeccable safety record. They won the Campbell Award several years ago, and they really wanted to innovate on safety and had an unmet need around worker safety. So they came to High Alpha, and Anvil was born.
And I think in a way that's really a great example of how High Alpha and the whole thing works. A company comes here, they've got an issue, a problem, seeking a solution, create a company.
Absolutely. So yeah, High Alpha is a company built to build companies, and they bring on leaders such as myself and other folks to help found those companies and incubate them and build them out. It's really an excellent model, and I can't think of a better team to work with.
Yeah, we'll talk about it because your background, you're VP of, I think, technology at Angie's List. You're Primo, you have a long history in technology in Indiana. Talk about the High Alpha model and you joining the organization as an entrepreneur in residence.
Sure. Really for me, I had choices as I exited Angie's List to figure out whether I wanted to stay in Indy or not. I really wanted to stay in Indy, and I really wanted to, start fresh and start a startup. So I joined as entrepreneur in residence. We've been in stealth mode for many months, working very hard to build out that vision and launch the company mid-October, and are very, very excited about what we're doing. We believe we're doing something that's very special and unique that helps people go home at the end of the day.
Talk about what you see as the potential for Anvil and the potential for growth. Obviously, Cummins coming to you with this issue, creating this, it's got some potential scalability.
It definitely does. We've received a lot of really positive feedback. We just recently went in October to the National Safety Congress and Expo, received a lot of positive feedback from people wanting to partner with us, from prospects. There's truly that unmet need is not just with Cummins, it's really kind of across the industry There's a lot of focus on compliance solutions. There's a lot of focus on wearables. There's not something necessarily that focuses on that worker to keep them safe at the point where work is occurring. And that's really what we're trying to bring together with Anvil.
And again, Anvil, the 10th startup to spin out of High Alpha. That model seems to be working as well, creating more companies, more into the ecosystem in Indiana.
It does, and it's important for us to keep doing that in Indy, to build jobs, to build technology that really resonates. I think it helps us with not just a national presence, but hopefully with a global presence down the road.
All right, we'll be watching the progress of Anvil. Co-founder Robin Fleming, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, here's what's on tap now in tech news, served up by Sun King. Indianapolis-based Nico Corporation has completed a $12.5 million Series B round of funding. The neurosurgical medical device manufacturer says that funding will support new product development and commercialization, as well as additional clinical studies. The Indiana University Philanthropic Venture Fund has announced support for an Indianapolis-based regenerative medicine company. While specific numbers have not been released, the fund says it is invested in Vascugen Inc., which focuses on finding therapies to repair human tissue damaged by reduced blood flow due to disease or injury. And entrepreneurial Indiana high school students have until February 6th to submit an application for the 2019 Innovate Within pitch competition. Students are encouraged to submit an online video pitch for a chance to win a $10,000 cash prize, $10,000 toward 1 year of in-state tuition and internship and mentoring opportunities. Some great stuff there. And for Tech News 24/7, be sure to check out InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Still ahead, this year's Ag Bioscience Innovation Summit will focus on food and ag tech investment trends, startup activity, and innovation in the state and beyond. Executive Vice President of Innovation at Elanco, Aaron Schacht, will preview this signature event. But next, Batesville Tool and Die has launched a co-op program with Batesville High School and Ivy Tech to give students hands-on skills. CEO Jody Flederman will share details and talk about a major milestone. Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by your Indiana Pacers. Well, the latest school to add a telehealth clinic is in the Greene County community of Worthington. White River Valley Elementary School officially opened the clinic this week, which will connect students and staff to services from Greene County General Hospital and its My Clinic network. An Eastern Indiana casket manufacturing plant is closing. The Palladium item in Richmond reports production at the Matthews Aurora Funeral Solutions facility, which employs about 200, will end next year. And renovations are on the way to Edinburgh Premium Outlets, with plans announced by Indianapolis-based Simon Property Group. Construction on the multi-million-dollar facelift, which includes new signage and a food truck plaza, is set to begin this fall. Well, Batesville Tool and Die began some 40 years ago with about 6 employees. Today, the precision metal stamping manufacturer employs some 450 workers in Indiana and nearly 1,000 workers in total. The auto parts supplier has been putting a big focus in recent years on a big issue in Indiana, workforce development. And for more on that, let's turn now to CEO Jody Flederman. And Jody, as always, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I think Batesville Tool and Die is a quintessential Indiana success story. It really is. Started again 40 years ago. Talk about how that, because your dad started the company. Talk about how it all started.
Well, my dad started the company. He was working at a similar type manufacturer and decided he wanted to start a company in his hometown. He was from Batesville. He met my mom in Batesville. So that's where he wanted to get back to. So he started the business, and he brought a couple guys with him, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are 40 years later, and a major operation, a major manufacturer in our state. 450 employees in Batesville. You have plants in several other U.S. locations, 1,000 workers in total. Talk about the business, big Tier 1 auto parts supplier.
So we are mostly an automotive manufacturer. We make parts mostly for automobiles. That could be Tier 1. About 20% of our sales are Tier 1, which means we supply directly to the car plants. We'll supply Tier 1 to Honda, to Nissan, to General Motors from several of our facilities. And then we also do a lot of tier 2 work, which we're selling to the Autolives, the Bosches, the Cummins, those guys, and it will go to their systems. All told, we are pushing $180 to $185 million in sales, which is a lot of parts.
Yeah, that's a lot of parts, a big number in a big manufacturing state. What do you think has really been a key driver over these 40 years? The company started with Delphi, I think was a big customer, one customer. Now you have all the customers you mentioned and more. What's been really driving it?
Well, I'd like to say it's been great planning, but some of it's just been good luck too. We decided to have the business in a state that's very manufacturing pro, very business pro, so there's been a lot of business attraction. The wave of the automakers coming to the United States, we're right in the middle of it. We didn't have to move there. We were already there, and it's just, it happened all the way around us. There's plants in Indianapolis, there's plants in Greensburg, there's plants in Marysville, Ohio, there's plants in Tennessee. So it just kind of exploded around us, and we were in the middle of it, and we took advantage of it, and then we've seen a lot of opportunity and growth from that.
Workforce and finding quality workers is a challenge for everyone in manufacturing and lots of industries. You've been very proactive with your Skill Up program, with a partnership with Batesville High School and Ivy Tech. Talk about those efforts and why they're important.
So we're spending a big thing that we're doing this year is skilling up our current workforce, because we need them to be more capable and be able to do more things, because we want to pay them more money and we want to get more done. So we've embarked on a really large program, that a Paid for Skills program and an Achieve Your Degree program with in conjunction with Ivy Tech, that they can take classes at Ivy Tech. We'll pay for all the classes if they pass them. And every job in our plant is going to be able to have a industry recognized certification level all the way up to an associate's degree.
Wow. Big investment to address a big issue for sure. Jody Flederman is CEO at Batesville Tool and Die, celebrating 40 years in business, a real Indiana success story. And Jody, as always, thanks and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, coming up next, this year's Ag Bioscience Innovation Summit will highlight industry convergence opportunities and feature an Academy Award nominee, the host of a Bloomberg TV program, and a lot more. Elanco Executive Vice President of Innovation, Aaron Schacht, and the B Corp's CEO, Ellie Sims, are here with more. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Starbank, getting to know you and your business. Well, from food and ag tech investment trends to startup activity and innovation to consumer perspectives, those are just some of the important conversations that will be taking place at the 2018 Ag Bioscience Innovation Summit. The day-long program will feature a star-studded lineup of speakers from Indiana and across the country. And for more on the event, I'm pleased to welcome Elanco Executive Vice President of Innovation, Regulatory, and Business Development, Aaron Schacht, and the B Corp CEO, Ellie Sims. And welcome one and all to the show. Aaron, I'm going to start with you. This is a big event.
It is.
Fourth year for the event, continues to grow in stature each and every year. Why, in your view, we'll talk about some of the folks who are going to be on there, but why is this important for the Ag Bioscience movement?
Yeah, I think it's a great recognition of really the growing momentum we have in the region. We've got great companies, we've got great universities, we got emerging players in terms of new companies, and so there's a lot of convergence that's happening in the ag field, the life science field, the technology field, and Indiana, I think, is finding a way to capitalize on the converging elements and really make a difference.
Talk about emerging companies, the B Corp, Ellie Sims, your company getting a lot of traction. First of all, talk a little bit about the B Corp and what's new.
Yeah, so the B Corp does data analytics on beehives to help growers ensure effective pollination. We're actually now starting to work with growers directly versus beekeepers. And so we're newly launching a new product in February, right after the summit, heading to California to kick that off. So we're very excited, but we're also excited to be a part of this ecosystem and to be a part of other startups in Indiana being featured.
Yeah, and you're going to be actually part of the summit. You're going to have a conversation on entrepreneurship with Scott Dorsey and the two Scotts, actually.
Yeah, Scott Massey, a good friend.
Scott Massey,
yeah.
Helioponics, great company. Talk about a little bit about that, what you expect to do there.
Yeah, so we're also bringing in two other entrepreneurs from out of state. These are fantastic startup entrepreneurs. So we'll have Indiana and the really national scene shown. So with Scott Dorsey, since he's such a leader in the startup space, we're actually going to do sort of a mentoring session where we talk about our challenges and our growth. I think it'll be really unique for a panel where we won't just be celebrating the wins, but talking about what it's really like. And I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and when you talk about this event and the thought leaders and the people who come together, we could be here all day talking about the lineup of speakers are very impressive.
Yeah, great set of leaders, I think, coming in, and really business people, academic leaders. We've got David Rubenstein coming in, the CEO and co-chairman of Carlyle Group. He's going to lead a panel and do his interview format. We've got Beth Ford from Land O'Lakes, new CEO there, prominent leader in the ag space. Obviously, Corteva and Elanco are presenting sponsors and will play a role in this summit. So really, I think it's a highlight of leaders in the industry, but also ones that have connections here in Indiana.
Yeah, quickly, Ellie, as someone in the business, why are events like this, in your view, important?
So for a startup, your head's down on your work every day, and it's helpful to get up and network and meet some of these new companies. And when I went to 3 years ago, my first Agronova Summit, I was blown away by how many companies were here and how many opportunities. Yeah. So for startups, it's just that opportunity to network that's incredible.
Very good. Yeah. Ellie Sims and also Aaron Schott. Thanks very much.
Okay.
The summit is November 29th, downtown at the JW Marriott. Going to be a great event. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, as a parent of a young son with autism, she wanted to help other families connect, so she started her company. Her story coming up.
Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve, cue Gary.
It's time now for the Business of Health, brought to you by Hendricks Regional Health. Well, for parents who have kids with special needs, finding a babysitter with the right qualifications can be a major challenge. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta tells us how an Indianapolis mother is expanding her business that connects babysitters and kids. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. Marie Maher created the online network Synapse Sitters just 1 year ago. Sitters who are qualified to care for kids with intellectual or developmental disabilities register on the site, and parents can log on to find a caregiver in their area. Synapse Sitters covers the Indianapolis and areas within 15 miles of the city and is now announcing plans to expand to other parts of the state. Founder Marie Maher joins me now to tell us more about the company and where it's headed. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You have personal experience
I do.
with the challenge of trying to find a sitter for a child with special needs. Tell us how your business idea came about.
Sure. So at 3 years old, my son was diagnosed with autism. And shortly after his diagnosis, I kind of noticed a theme within my sitters. They were having a hard time dealing with his behaviors. I would get called home a lot. And eventually I just didn't have the confidence in them. So I decided, I just probably should stay home more often. He was getting therapies at an ABA center for 40 hours a week, so I thought I should get to know his team better. And I kind of noticed this common thread that they all have education within human services. So I thought, what would happen if we put that type of sitter with that type of background on one platform and started marketing directly towards the special needs community?
And hence became your company.
Yes.
So parents pay a monthly subscription to join the network, but sitters join for free. But there are special qualifications that your sitters have. Tell us about that.
Sure. So we need to verify that they have some type of education or employment experience within human services. So we have a lot of teachers on our site, ABA therapists, speech pathologists, nurses, and nursing students.
And you started in Indianapolis about 1 year ago,
yes.
But you are expanding.
Yes.
So sharing that for the first time on the show, tell us where you're expanding to.
Sure. So right now we are actually currently boarding sitters in the Lafayette and West Lafayette area. Once we reach a certain amount, we will be having parents sign up. But we do have plans after the first of the year for Fort Wayne and the South Bend, Mishawaka area as well.
That's fantastic. Women are a minority in the tech industry. So what has it been like being a female entrepreneur in the tech industry? industry?
Well, I am a non-technical founder, meaning I have no coding or technology experience, but I knew technology was a great platform to connect people. So I was very lucky. I found this group called the Startup Ladies, and what Kristen Cooper and that group have done really well is connect entrepreneurs like myself to real resources to build technology and platforms to solve problems.
And one thing you mentioned that's interesting is Snap Sitters isn't just for toddlers or young kids. It extends beyond that.
Exactly. So when you have a child with special needs, their diagnosis never goes away. And on other platforms, babysitter platforms, parents typically start leaving when their children are around 11 to 13 years old. But we actually allow parents of teens and young adults up to age 20 to join, because they may not necessarily be looking for a babysitter, but perhaps a companion to take their child out to teach life skills, such as going to the grocery store or going to a restaurant.
So your company kind of grows with them.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being here today. It's a great topic.
Thank you.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, Indianapolis-based Edusource develops custom software for clients while training the next generation of talent through real-life projects. College students are hired as apprentices for 2 years, learning valuable skills before they find their first job. In this week's Eye on Education segment, founder and president Jason Butler is here now to explain how it all works. And Jason, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much.
Interesting concept, interesting model, and as we talked off camera, you say we Edusource talent, not outsource it. And this whole concept came to you really when you were teaching at Taylor University, right?
Yeah, so I was kind of performing two roles. I was an adjunct professor teaching software engineering at the same time that I was managing a project that was outsourcing work overseas. What was interesting is when I came home at night and I looked at the code that my sophomores in college were developing and comparing it to what I was getting from overseas, I was very impressed, and I thought, man, I wish I could give it to my students, this professional work we were doing, and that's where the idea came from. I thought, well, what if we edu-sourced the work as opposed to outsourced it? And so that's really where we started.
All right, let's talk about it, because you are offering essentially apprenticeships, right? 2-year apprenticeships.
Correct. So we view this as a leadership development program. And so we bring in students at the end of their sophomore year in a university. They need to be in a qualified computer science program. At that point, we bring them in. They work about 40 hours a week during the summer, 15 to 20 hours a week during the school year. And we pay them, but they're on our real teams. And so they'll earn about $40,000 over a 2-year time frame to help them pay down school debt. But from my standpoint, the bigger issue is that they're getting real-life, hands-on practical experience, working on real projects, side by side, watching software engineering be modeled for them.
Yeah. So talk about that hands-on, because, well, first of all, the money is real. $40,000 over 2 years. That's very impressive. But they really are getting immersed in the whole work project or real-life atmosphere.
It is. It's an immersion experience, and so they're sitting right next to our senior engineers working on real projects. So they're not getting coffee or anything like that. They're smack dab in the middle of a real project, and they do that by year 2 or by the second week that they're in the program.
Wow.
And it's really fun to watch them then go into their second year in school and in classes, because their confidence level is so much higher. They've seen real life, they've seen real world experiences, and our process is such that it really does develop them in a way that I don't think they could get developed otherwise.
And again, to position them for that first job out of school, if you will.
Correct.
They've got to come out of this apprenticeship program in pretty good shape.
Yeah, they do. And in a lot of ways, we consider this a leadership development program. And so we put them in environments where they are developing their leaderships. And so from my standpoint, I believe that leadership is about producing results. So they need to be producing results. They need to be producing them early and often.
Can this be a model that can scale up and get larger? I mean, the whole concept of apprenticeships, there's a lot of talk about, the workforce situation out there and the need for more qualified, trained workers. It would seem this might have some potential.
Absolutely, I really do think it is. And it's something we've been working on over the last couple of years, is systematizing this into a way that we can make this into something that can scale quickly, and then we really provide that talent pipeline to more industries or to more organizations than just my own.
Very good. Interesting model. Edusource is the name of the company on the north side of Indianapolis, providing apprenticeships and software development and a lot more leadership development too. Jason Butler, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, still ahead, our insiders will sound off on some of the week's top stories. But first, a new museum being planned in Terre Haute to honor Larry Legend. Terre Haute Mayor Duke Bennett is here with details on the only sanctioned Larry Bird Museum and the expected economic impact. Well, Indiana basketball great Larry Bird will be forever synonymous with Indiana State University and Terre Haute, but that legacy is soon to be further strengthened. Bill Benner has more on this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill.
Well, thanks, Gary. Bird's rise from small-town Hick from French Lick to the Larry legend of Boston Celtics lore took hold during his career with the Sycamores, culminating in their trip to the 1979 NCAA championship game. And now Bird's career will be forever on display in the new Larry Bird Museum, which will be part of the new Terre Haute Convention Center. And joining us today to discuss this exciting attraction is the Terre Haute Mayor, Duke Bennett. Duke, welcome to the show. Thanks for making the drive over.
Great to be here.
Governor Holcomb was over for the announcement last month. How did this all come about?
Well, you know, we've been talking about a convention center for quite some time, probably about 3 years. And so as that became a reality, we thought a couple things. One is Greg Gibson, local guy in Terre Haute, and his father Max really helped Larry when he came to Terre Haute, when he first came to Indiana State University. But they've been storing a lot of his memorabilia over the years there in Terre Haute. So as we were developing this convention center concept, we thought, could there be room to create a Larry Bird museum of all that memorabilia instead of it staying in storage where nobody can see it? Let the public come and see all of his stuff, because he has a lot of memorabilia. So that really, I give Greg Gibson all the credit to that, to convince Larry that was a good thing to do, and now it's turning into a reality.
I can only imagine this, what a tremendous attraction this will be, not just for the people of Terre Haute who still remember Larry as that great Sycamore, but for people from across the country, around the world, who recognize Larry Bird. You
wouldn't believe how many people come to get their picture taken with his statue in front of Holman Center. But when I travel around and tell people, you know, where are you from? You say Terre Haute, and one of the first things, I would bet 9 out of 10 times they'll say, oh, Larry Bird played basketball at Indiana State. He is just such a renowned figure for all of us here in Indiana, but especially Terre Haute. And this is just going to be something that not only locals and people in West Central Indiana, I would suspect they'll come from all over.
And part of a larger strategy, the convention center that's going to be constructed, and you're actually will have sort of a museum district that this will be a centerpiece.
Yeah, there'll be 9 museums within walking distance of the convention center, including this one. And Children's Museum is right across the street. We've got a Holocaust Museum coming downtown. It's in a different location now, but it's moving. It's really kind of an amazing thing that's transpired over the last 10 to 12 years of creating those quality of life destinations in downtown Terre Haute.
And Mayor, I can only imagine, again, Larry's career, not just high school, college, pro, Olympics. I mean, he has touched the Indiana game in so many incredible ways. This will have to be it'll be a fantastic display.
It will. You know, when you start talking about all those things from high school all the way through, he has a lot of items to be displayed, but a lot of things that we're all proud of too, you know, and keeping them in storage, I think, is just not, you know, none of us, we'd love to see it. And so I think that's really where that idea came from, was let's create a destination and celebrate the achievements of Larry Bird.
Well, I can't wait to see it. Construction starts next spring, so I can't wait to see the finished product. Mayor Duke Bennett, the 3rd longest tenured mayor in Terre Haute history, 200 years. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, 'tis the season to be shopping. The biggest retail holidays of the year are here. Both Black Friday and Cyber Monday are on track for yet another record year. And as our Mary Rachel Redmond reports, the use of consumer smartphones are not only making holiday shopping easier, but in some cases, more affordable.
It's the biggest shopping weekend of the year, with more than 164 million shoppers expected to partake in the 5-day holiday spending spree from Thanksgiving Day through Cyber Monday.
I think the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday concept is merged into the entire shopping experience. Marketers are really targeting specific time frames, whether it's an in-store experience and the type of promotions they're doing, or whether it's online and the type of promotions they're promoting online or in an application to promote those sales of those goods on those specific days.
One of the most useful tools when you're talking Black Friday and even Cyber Monday is this, the smartphone. In fact, in 2017, according to data analytics company Comscore, 40% of Black Friday's online sales took place on smartphones.
The in-store experience has changed radically because you're now walking into the store with a phone in your hand. There's a huge amount of opportunities out there for anybody that has a phone. Go to your favorite stores, download their apps. They're immediately going to know your preferences for what you buy in that store and will give you, promotional codes and promotion discounts for those items that you traditionally buy. It allows you to get better discounts knowing that they want to bring you into their shopping experience, whether it's on a phone, whether it's online or in the physical store. They want to bring you into that experience on both Black Friday and Monday in the best way that they can.
And don't count out social media. It too is playing a significant role this holiday season.
The use of social media for product placement, for promoting items is on a rocket ship type of pace. And that's changing the preferences of shoppers because they're saying, oh yeah, I saw Instagram user XYZ using this product, I want to go online and buy that. Oddly enough, they suddenly get, an online app for that same type of product in their Instagram feed. Click on it, make the purchase. What they don't recognize is that was all scripted. That was scripted by the marketers. Those are paid products placements, paid product advertisements, all to get you to buy that type of product.
Mary Rachel Rudman, Inside Indiana Business.
Well, coming up, our insiders are getting warmed up to sound off on the launch of the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. Also, the Indiana Chamber is out with its legislative agenda. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Starbank, getting to know you and your business. Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, sounding off on a newly formed tech organization advocating for public policy. The Indiana Chamber out with its legislative priorities. Democrats were as well. And have the Colts turned the corner in this season? We'll talk about that with our insiders. IndyPolitics.org publisher Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Also, Katz Korn Cunningham, co-founding partner Norris Cunningham, and Business Furniture CEO Mary Beth Oakes. And welcome one and all to the Insiders.
Good to be here. Thank you.
For another week. And Abdul, our resident legislative guru, and you were down there, I know, for Organizational Day. The technology sector has long, people have talked about that group as a group not having an advocacy, a policy group. That is changing now with the creation of the Indiana Technology and Innovation Association. Good move?
Very good move. When you look at just how Indiana has grown over the past 10 years, particularly in the technology field, whether it's Infosys, or whether it's Salesforce, just some of the other, 16 Tech in Indianapolis, some of the tech hubs that just sort of sprout all over the place. It only makes sense that the tech people have, a public policy advocacy group to explain, a lot of these issues to a lot of lawmakers that aren't, who just got off MySpace, not too long ago, and discovered social media. So no, I think it's really good and a really smart move for the tech industry.
And the timing, maybe, that with the momentum in the tech community, a good time to do it.
It's almost kind of shocking that it took this long for this to happen, right? But I think I'm like you. I think it's a great move, very timely, needed to happen. They need a voice. They need somebody that can really inform the legislators about what needs to happen and how it should happen, why it should happen. So.
And also, Norris, as you try to attract talent here, some of these issues, taxation issues and issues around talent, legislatively, those can be important moves.
Well, exactly right, and so now they can focus on their own legislative priorities, right? There's a political action committee that comes along with this, and so they're going to have an opportunity, I think, to start influencing policy on the front end rather than sort of being reactive, I think, the way the tech industry has been in the past.
And just to piggyback on that, if you look at some of the issues we've had to deal with the last couple of years, whether it was like how do you regulate Uber, Airbnb, and even to a lesser degree, scooters, all over the place as this new technology pops up, it's good for the technology people to have an advocacy group that can explain to lawmakers, here's why self-driving cars are what they are.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about legislative priorities. A number of organizations and groups out with their legislative agenda in the week just ended. The Indiana Chamber of Commerce Business Advocacy, obviously, will focus on areas like hate crime legislation. Also back to cigarette taxes. Abdul, a $2 increase per pack. Didn't work last time. You think they'll have more success this time?
They might. When we did the politics poll at the U.S. Senate race this past October, we also asked about a $2 increase in the cigarette tax, and oddly enough, had like 62% support for an increase in the cigarette tax. Now, whether lawmakers will follow along, that remains to be seen. I know the speaker at the event afterwards talked about maybe like a $1, increase might be sort of the way to start. But with the state also, we found out this week, having some budget issues. With revenues maybe falling a little short, a lot more demands, that $2 cigarette tax increase just might actually look really attractive to a lot more people.
Yeah, and from a business community standpoint, the health issues, Indiana unfortunately continues to not do well in those health ratings. Poor health costs businesses money.
It does cost us. I mean, health costs, the healthcare costs are rising so dramatically, and I know every company we work with has a whole initiative around really getting their employees healthier, more proactively. Really educating them so they can be good consumers of healthcare. Yep. So I think you're right. I think anything we can do to move that along just makes us a better community, more attractive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the wellness feature, I think, is good on the part of the chamber to be focused on the cigarette tax as a way of being able to do that. I want to take them to task a little bit, though, on their opposition to medical marijuana. I know that that's a priority for the Democrats this legislative session. But 33 states have medicinal use of marijuana now. This is an area where Indiana needs to come into the fold. That's enough states to ratify a constitutional amendment, I think, right? I mean, so that's a pretty good indication that there really is consensus around the efficacy of medical marijuana, and Indiana needs to move in that direction. So the chamber's wrong on that one.
And you look at the data, the evidence on how that really does make a difference, right?
Yes, right.
So I think you're right about that. I do. Yes. I agree.
And interesting that, as you mentioned, the Democrat caucus is out. They want to move or push for legalization of medical marijuana. Yeah. Interesting to see how that works out. In terms of the economy, big news this week already had been announced, but a groundbreaking for Infosys and its USA training hub at the old Indianapolis International Airport. A major project, big project, 3,000 jobs committed here. But I think, Mary Beth, interesting that Infosys is committed to 10,000 jobs in the U.S. and all those people to come through this center.
They'll be touching our economy, right? So it's a great thing for our city, and I think it's a great thing for the West Side. I feel like the West Side has just really had some struggles and some decline, and it's exciting to see that there's going to be a boost there. And I just love it because it's a great story about our city, and things did not work out right with Amazon. But you look at companies like Infosys, it's a perfect fit for us, right? It's a perfect opportunity for our city.
Yeah, that West Side development, I think, is key. Being able to use that Air Force space or that airport space, rather, in that way, I think is going to be very good for the West Side. But their mission of training and retraining, reskilling, if you will, workers, I think is something that that locally is an important thing for the state of Indiana. I mean, the tech jobs of the future is going to require highly skilled workers, and we've got a number of folks that probably need to, as manufacturing falls away and falls off, that need that retraining. So this is an excellent opportunity, I think.
And something else what Infosys shows is about a decade ago, former Minneapolis Mayor Greg Ballard took a trip to India, and a lot of people were wondering, why is he going to India? What's going on there? He's just on a junket, just wasting valuable taxpayer time. It was those types of trips a decade ago that built these relationships that we're all now finally seeing come to fruition. And I think that's really important for people.
It's a great point. He was really a leader, a visionary in that regard. And Abdul, I have to ask you.
Marijuana question?
No, Amazon, close. Okay, Indy didn't get Amazon. Did Indy, as John McDonald from Cloud One, others have said maybe Indy dodged a bullet by not getting Amazon?
I'm a firm believer that Indianapolis dodged a bullet. As somebody who spends a lot of time in Seattle and talks to a lot of the folks out there just about how life has changed in a post-Amazon universe. I mean, everybody loves, talks about, the high-tech and high-wage jobs, but also along with that comes increased housing prices and a bunch of other things that I don't think necessarily Indianapolis was ready for. And we're already dealing with, workforce shortages, as they are. And so I think by sort of missing Amazon, it shows that, hey, we can compete with the big guys, but maybe that wasn't necessarily the one that you wanted to land.
Yep. Okay, we're into that season. Does it ever end? Holiday shopping season.
Yes,
It gets earlier and earlier.
I bought your Christmas present on my phone just a few minutes ago.
I appreciate that, Abdul. Very nice. What do we think economy-wise, how Indiana's going to fare this shopping season? For retailers, obviously it's the biggest time of year.
I think it's going to be very strong. And what I've seen at the malls in the past few weeks, like in November, October, packed. Just crazy busy and lots of promotions, and I think it's going to be very strong.
Consumer confidence seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, it is up. I mean, quite frankly, we've got record low unemployment in Indiana right now. We're sitting around 3.5%, right? And so there are jobs out there. You look at where those jobs are, too, by the way. Service industry actually down. Tech, manufacturing. Tech is up. Manufacturing is stable. So good jobs, good opportunity, I think, for some economic growth and for some people to do some holiday shopping as a result. So I think we're going to do well this season.
Good. Speaking of do well this season, have the Colts turned the corner? They start 1-5. Everybody's down on them. They've won 4 straight. Looked really good against Tennessee last week. Their schedule the rest of the way out isn't terribly tough. Is it too crazy to think they could actually make the playoffs?
I think the Colts can make the playoffs. I think that they are riding a wave here right now. They've got protection for Luck. Luck's playing at a high level right now, he's an MVP candidate over the last 4 games. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The numbers he's put up have been dramatic. So the Colts can do it. They have the ability, I think, to find themselves. They got a good coach. I think they can find themselves in the playoffs at the end of the year.
I hope you're right. I hope that prediction is right. Norris Cunningham, Mary Beth Oaks, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Thanks one and all.
Thank
and
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Coming up next week, our monthly Culture Matters report returns with a look inside training software company Lessonly, a company planning to add about 100 jobs. Plus, Hoosier companies continue to face a short supply of workers. The Indiana Chamber is out with a new initiative. We'll tell you about that. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Indiana Media Ventures, with support from WFYI Productions.